Welcome. Looks like we have Jeanette and Melanie. Welcome to Business Coaching. This is our quarterly business coaching we will be doing, hosted by Randy McCray. So we are glad to have you here.
Hi, Melanie. Thank you for coming.
Glad to be here. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. We're just going to give everyone a few minutes to start coming in. We have about 35 registered, so we'll see how many actually show up for the call. If it's going to be small and intimate or larger, we will see, but this is our kickoff call, and you're going to be meeting with Randy quarterly, so we will be establishing that quarterly. Melanie is having sound issues.
Got it.
Let's see. I'm asking her to leave and rejoin.
Okay.
Okay.
There's another person in the waiting room.
That is Maxine. I think Maxine registered today too, so very cool. Hopefully we'll have a good mix of businesses.
Melanie.
Melanie, are you able to hear now?
Yes, awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. So yes, Maxine has joined. We have Melanie. We're just giving everyone a few minutes to get in. I just sent another email blast out, but we are happy to have you ladies here. This is CMWP Foundation, the nonprofit of the collaboration of minority women professionals. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to see and hear and all the goodness.
Yes. Let's get into it. And Randy is going to be your facilitator. Jeanette has heard this, but Melanie's sound was off. So Maxine and Melanie, Randy is going to be the facilitator on a quarterly basis, meeting with you to go over your 3 SMART goals for 2023. I believe there's some breakout sessions that may happen depending on how large of a cohort we get. And also be sure to bring in your other colleagues also. Invite them to the quarterly business coaching call.
And I actually asked Melanie to join us because she is a business owner who just is transitioning her business that I've known for quite some time. She owned her own bakery business for 15 years. And I asked her to join because I see her as a future guest in our space with a lot of experience. She has a good following on social media where she shares a deep wealth of knowledge of what she's learned over these years doing a very successful business across the tri-state area. So I asked her to join us today as a guest with hopefully opportunities to have her support some of the business owners, newer business owners that come into this community in the future. So thank you, Melanie, for making time to be here, because Melanie also has a new little one at home. So
Congratulations.
Thank you for us today.
Yes, we're glad to have you here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate the invite.
We're at 12:04. So I was thinking it'd probably be a good idea for those who are on the call, if you're able to unmute yourself, just give us a brief introduction, how you found out about the event and what business industry that you're in, just to give us a sense of who you are and how this space can be helpful to your business. So I'm going to start with, I see another guest I invited is coming in. I'm going to start with who I see on my window. And then when we get ready to transition to the bulk of our time together, I'll circle back to the 2 founders, Samantha and Letitia, to do a deeper introduction of CMWP as well as CMWP Foundation. So I'm going to start with Jeanette. I hope I said your name correctly. Jeanette, is that correct?
It's actually Jenna Tang.
Jenna Tang. Thank you. So Jenna Tay, could you start with introducing yourself, how you heard about this workshop, and what business industry you're in?
So, I'm Jenna Tay. I'm actually from Connecticut. I heard about this event from, I guess I'm part of one of the Facebook groups. So I get the emails and stuff that come to me. So I saw the event coming in, the invite for that. So I figured I'd go ahead and join. I'm in the process of starting up my own business in the healthcare industry. I've gotten, like, at this point, I'm at a point where I have like my LLC and I'm trying to get everything kind of all settled. And so I just figured goal setting was going to be a big thing for me right now. So I thought this would be a great one to kind of join in.
Well, thank you for joining us. Goal setting is definitely important, especially for any business, but especially as you're in the startup phase. So I'm going to move on to Maxine. Maxine, are you able to unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maxine Nugent. I heard about this from a colleague of mine through Catholic Charities. I actually have two businesses that I established. One I was looking into just before COVID. It's called Comfort Cozy Teas, where I do give people the ambiance of the tea parties and the tea boxes, gift boxes that I send out. Would love to open up a small tea shop soon. And then I do a decluttering business, which is called Room to Breathe CT. And both of them are in Connecticut based. And the reason why I joined, I thought this would be very helpful for me to help me to grow. And like she said, set goals and just to get to my next step. Or if I'm doing anything wrong, you guys might be able to help me and move me along.
Thank you, Maxine. It's a pleasure to have you. And those both sound like businesses I'd love to get to know more about, because I probably need one of them, particularly the cluttering one. Melanie, can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, ladies. How are you?
Excellent.
Okay. I'm introducing myself. I was about to say as Chef Melanie, but that is a position that I have recently stepped down from about a month or so ago. So, but my name is Coach Melanie. Well, Melanie, I am a coach, and I am starting a new company and teaching women, teaching moms how to utilize what it is that they've already learned, the skills that they've gained in their day-to-day lives, as well as in business, to start to optimize their day. So yeah, I ran a company called the Brownie Factory for 15 years, started it from scratch, not understanding one thing about business. And so I decided to join today's, well, not only because of the invite, but I decided to join because I really thought that not only would it be beneficial, because I am always a student, no matter what, I am always a student. But I thought if I could share of any goodness, I will. And then if I'm here to learn something, then I'm open to that as well. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Melanie, and it's great to have you. The person I see next on my screen is Melissa.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melissa Singleton, Latrell Singleton. And the business that I have currently now is a mobile notary service. My business is Unique Mobile Notary Services, where I travel to different people, companies, businesses to do notary work, apostille work, fingerprints, and loan signings. And another business that I'm currently working on is building up a real estate business as well. So I have a few things in mind that I'm looking to work on, or that I have been working on. And I joined this group by an invite, and I just look forward to networking, learning new people, meeting new people, and just learning the process a little bit better, and the structuring and running a business the way that I need to successfully.
Thank you, Melissa. And Simone and Janine, you just joined us, so welcome. We've been just doing a really brief introduction while we're giving people the opportunity to join. Some people are looking for the link. So we're asking that you just offer your name, the industry that you're in, and how you found out about today's event. And I'll start with Simone and then move to Janine.
Oh, good morning. Afternoon. My name is Simone. I'm in the industry of concierge services and advocate. And I found out about this through CMWP emails.
Welcome, Simone. It's good to see you again. Janine, can you unmute yourself and tell us what industry you're in and how you found out about today's workshop?
Hi, good morning. I'm Janine McMahon. I'm from Hartford, Connecticut, and I got invited because I received a grant through CROG to work on my social media presence, branding, and my website. So I'm currently doing some work with them, and I received the invite this morning, actually. So I joined because I thought it was really interesting, like setting SMART goals and stuff. In my past 9-to-5, which I just left last week, I ran an entrepreneur. Yes, I need to focus on me. I ran an entrepreneur program, and with our clients, we talked about SMART goals and business financing and proper business structure and all this good stuff. But I'm always a student myself, so I'm here to learn as much as I can. I have two things that I'm working on. So I do some consulting here locally, statewide, and nationally around parent leadership and engagement. I work very closely with nonprofit organizations and government entity to improve their parent/community engagement in systems and policy change work. And then I also have what I'm working on for the website. I have a fitness program called Bacchanal Bounce Fitness, and it is, the way I describe it, it's like Zumba on rebound boots, and rebounding has been proven to really activate the lymphatic system and help you to lose weight faster and more efficiently. I think that's the best way to describe it. So I have two things that I'm working on and trying to figure out a balance between the two things, because they're so very different. And then also my structure, my business structure, because I also do event planning, but I do that kind of like independently as a sole proprietor, which is not the right way to do it. And so I'm trying to figure out, am I under like a Janine McMahon enterprise doing business as blah, 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 and all these different things. So I'm just here to get some insight and gain some clarity around what my next step should be.
Thank you, Janine. And we have two other people who joined us, and we're going to give them a minute each to introduce themselves. And then we're going to transition and have Samantha and Letitia, the founders of CMWP, talk about what we plan to do today and the overall initiative that this particular workshop is being brought to you by. So we have Athena from LipLock. So Athena, could you unmute yourself, tell us the industry that you're in and how you found out about today's workshop, and then we'll move on to Tracy from Cake Spell Delightful Baking.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I am Athena Murphy. I'm the owner of LipLock LLC. We're a vegan cosmetic brand. We also have soy candles as well. I got involved with the program today because I'm part of the collaboration of minority professionals. And so that's why I'm here today.
Thank you, Athena. And Tracy, can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tracy Joseph. I am the owner and visionary of Cakes for Delightful Baking. We are a concierge bakery that service the Connecticut, New London region. And I was brought here today, one, to support CMWP's vision for helping entrepreneurship and to actually perfect my vision and strategy for my companies.
Thank you. So now I'm going to turn it over to Samantha, who's going to kick us off, and her and Letitia will talk about this initiative and the other initiatives of the foundation, and then we'll jump into the rest of our content for today.
Yes, thank you, Randy. And we have some women who's going to be joining. So Randy, maybe before we drop, we can do another round robin of introductions so that everyone can make sure we have met everyone. Hello, everyone, especially to the new ladies who are here to our circle. Shout out to our ladies from our membership who are here to support, ladies from the collaboration who are always here supporting and checking into the things that we're doing. So I am Samantha Williams. I am founder, president of the Collaboration of Minority Women Professionals. CMWP Foundation is our nonprofit arm of the collaboration. where we are known as an entrepreneur support organization, ESO. We are started in the New Haven, Hamden area of Connecticut. Before COVID, we have since expanded. The collaboration is a minority-based membership. So that is $15 a month or $125 a year. We have members here, paid members, Randy, Athena, Letitia, Simone, Tracy, and if I forgot anyone, I'm sorry. Babs, who just joined, is also our member. But we are providing this training through a contract that we won through CROG also to facilitate quarterly entrepreneurial wellness, business coaching, networking, and workshops. So this is our kickoff call that we have for our free quarterly virtual business coaching, which sessions will be facilitated on a quarterly basis by Randy. So thank you, Randy, for supporting and contributing to the efforts of the collaboration. And then I will introduce and also about myself. So I also am a serial entrepreneur. I run several businesses in the Connecticut area. I have 628 Digital Design, which is a full service digital content design and marketing agency. And then I have Melanated Business Coaching, which is we provide business coaching to Black women in business. And then I have the collaboration. I have a 9-year-old son, DJ, and a husband also. So I am extremely busy in these streets, but I need to, as part of my core of what I do is to pour back into the Black women community. So that is why we're here today, how we all started. And Letitia, I'll allow you to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Letitia Douglas. I am the Vice President of the collaboration. I am also, corporate and entrepreneurship. I am a data scientist in the corporate world. And I also, my entrepreneurial stuff is more on the real estate investment side, stock market investing, and doing financial literacy training. So glad to see everyone today. And I'll turn it back over to Randy. I don't know, do we have 2 more guests?
We do have 2 more guests, but in the interest of time, I'm going to circle back to them at some point so we can get started and make sure we don't miss any of the content for today's workshop. So I will definitely make sure I leave time to welcome and allow Babs and Naomi, who joined us recently, to introduce themselves. So ladies, welcome, and we'll give you a time towards the end before our questions and our Q&A session to actually introduce yourselves in the businesses that you're in and industries that you're in. So my name is Randy McCray, and as Samantha and Letitia stated, I am the facilitator for this portion of our engagement that's being sponsored by CROG. What I do on an everyday basis is exactly what I'm doing right now. I do trainings, workshops, and I facilitate with different businesses and organizations in many different sectors, specializing in diversity, equity, inclusion, but a lot of strategic and operations development for nonprofit organizations and small businesses. Today, you are all a part of an initiative that we have started, which includes quarterly business coaching. So I start all my trainings and my workshops by setting an intention so that everything that we do lines up with that intention. So the intention for today is really to kick us off as a cohort of people who will come together quarterly to review our business goals, discuss as a community what those challenges are, in a group coaching setting. So what a group coaching setting offers us is the opportunity to actually lean on the expertise of an entire community to help us move through challenges we experience once we set our goals, right? And so we see this as a affinity space that will happen on a quarterly basis, and a new network that you all are a part of that can help you achieve the hopes and dreams and hopefully the strategic goals of your business. We're going to start today just by doing some context setting about what do we mean by business goals, because primarily as a consultant, that's the main thing that I see most organizations, individuals, small business struggle with, is really setting effective goals. And so we intentionally named it S.M.A.R.T goals because S.M.A.R.T goals is a framework that helps us create specific measurable goals to make sure that we're working diligently towards the goals and objectives of our business. And so we're going to start this full quarterly series by talking about what those are, what we mean by them, why they're important. And then towards the end, hopefully everyone will use a sheet to set one goal that we can actually check in on when we get together quarterly. When we get together quarterly, we will check in on our goals, but also spend time in this community talking to each other in smaller groups to hear about business challenges and helping us work through those challenges. You all are now on our mailing list. So if you're new to this community and new to this network, you will receive other emails about other opportunities in which you can engage in between. So the CMWP network also has, if you become a member, we have a gathering community that I like to call it, where we have manifestation Mondays. And during manifestation Mondays, we actually share our goals for the week, our overall SMART goal, the books that we're reading, and then we have a hot topic. So that's also a space that you can be invited to really check in between these quarterly sessions. So we have new folks that just joined us. Welcome, and you'll have the opportunity to introduce yourselves again later. I'm going to share my screen so that I can kind of get into what we're going to talk about today, which is really a SMART goal framework. Hi, Takesha, how are you? Good to see you. If I get my screen to come up. All right, so as you can see, the name of the workshop, SMART Business Goals, is brought to you by the Collaboration for Minority Women Professionals Foundation, and is sponsored by the Capital Region Council of Governments, CROG, as Samantha said, a contract we won. So you met members of the leadership team, which is Samantha. Screen is not advancing. Which is Samantha, Letitia, and myself. Samantha is the founder, Letitia is a co-founder and vice president, and I'm just on the leadership team working on strategy and operations. So we're going to start just by talking about what are business goals and why are they important. So I know there is a statement up on the screen, but I'd love to hear from somebody in this space about how would you answer this question? What do you think business goals are, and why do you think they're important? So just anybody. Just tell me what that means to you. Simone, I can see you.
I guess we need to know where we're going in order to find out what we're doing right now. So what we're doing right now should get us towards where we want to be.
Anybody else want to add to that?
I'll follow up with that. Goals are like that destination, and it helps us to determine the pathway that we need to take to get to that final destination. And it's important for us to set benchmarks because it helps us to stay on track with what we're doing, but also helps us to hold ourselves accountable for what should be accomplished.
So by show of chat reactions or visual reactions, because I can see your screen, how many people already have goals that they have outlined for their business? Everybody, a couple of people said they have goals. So I'm just going to do a quick test. And I'm not going to ask Samantha because I know she already knows this, and Letitia too. So I'm not asking y'all not included. Janine, why don't you tell us one goal that you have for your business? If you can state one goal out to us. If I said, Janine, what are your goals for your business? Tell me which one of them. Any one of them.
Sorry, trying to unmute here. Well, one of my priorities right now is.
You unmuted yourself.
Sorry, I was getting a call. Priorities to get my website up and running within the next month.
Awesome. I want you to hold on to that towards the end.
Sure.
Anybody else? One other person, tell me a goal that they have for their business.
Is this a goal, like a current goal or overall goal?
Either or.
My overall goal is to get my business into stores.
Okay, so I want you to hold on to that too, to get my business into stores. So I just want you to hold on to that, write it down if you need to, but hold on to that for when we get through this later on, because I'm going to show you how we actually use a specific framework to take those goals to make them more specific and time-bound and all those types of things, which Athena knows this too because she's on the Monday calls. So small goals So what are some business goals? So, and why are they important? So small business goals are specific objectives to help us businesses grow and succeed. You really need to have a clear set of goals so that you can be efficient, overcome challenges, as well as many other things. And so in my experience, in addition to that, it's really important to have a clear sense of every action that you take every day, whether it's actually working towards the goals you have outlined for your business. So there's a way that we can just get up and do the things, but we're not sure where that input is leading us. And then an entire couple of months go by and you don't feel like you've gotten anywhere. Usually that happens with organizations and individuals and businesses when they haven't documented at the beginning a specific goal with a that's measurable, that's time bound and very specific. And so a lot of the activity that they're doing every day or the tasks they're doing every day don't really lead them to their goal. So we encourage people to begin with the end in mind. And when we begin with the end in mind, that means we're setting these SMART goals up front so that we know every task and action we complete every day is actually getting us to where we want to get to in our business. So you can have short-term or long-term goals. So when Athena said that question, I was like either or, because yeah, both are important and you can have either or you can have both of them running simultaneously. So short-term goals are usually things that you want to do in the immediate, that you want to see results from in the next, 6 months, maybe the year, maybe 3 months, right? They usually operate on a 3, 6, or 12-month scale when people talk about short-term goals. And some examples for businesses around short-term goals can be increase average sales per day by 50 in the next 90 days, grow revenue by 20,000 per month after 1 year, lower employee attrition rate by 10% over 6 months. So when you're looking at these goals, what are some things that stand out to you in terms of how these goals are written?
Again, are me and Letitia not allowed to answer?
You are allowed to answer this.
Wait,
They're measurable. All of the goals are measurable.
Measurable. What else, Samantha?
oh, I didn't really read them through. They're specific.
They're specific.
And they, all of them have some kind, they're quantifiable.
So if I set a goal for myself to increase average sales per day by 50 in the next 90 days, I'm able to go and utilize a variety of tools to see if I actually met that goal in 90 days. I'm also able to go back and look at what I've done, right? So that I know if I need to make any adjustments along the way. So another thing about goal setting, which I talk to businesses about, is it allows us to use a framework that I used in the IT space where we do rapid prototyping, right? So we try something, we see if it's working. And if it isn't working, we hurry up, adjust, and go a different direction. Or we find out what's really working. We're like, okay, we need to do more of that and put our energy there and not put our energy over there, right? So if I establish a goal which is quantifiable, and I actually have a time limit on that, I can look at all the actions I've taken in that time frame and say, okay, this is what's working well, and I should do more of that. This is not what's working well, and I should do less of that. As business owners, you can easily find yourself in a mode of operation where you're putting in a lot of input, but it's actually not producing any output. So when I set very specific goals with numbers attached to them, with a time attached to them, I'm able to go back and evaluate what's working and what's not working, right? And so that helps me be more strategic, more quickly, right? Rather than looking back over a year or two and say, well, I've been in business for 2 or 3 years. I'm not seeing any sales growth. I'm not seeing new customers. I'm stalling. Like, what am I doing? And if you're not really tracking that and you don't have measurable goals, you can't really make heads or tails of what's working or what's not working. So it's really important to kind of establish a clear goal that you can actually go back and evaluate whether your input leads to the output that you expect. Samantha or Letitia, you want to add to that?
No, I think the goal setting is good for level setting also. It provides you an opportunity to really think realistically about what you can accomplish and when. Like Athena said, she has a long-term goal, because that's realistic. She has a realistic long-term goal of getting her product into stores. So if she said, I want to have my products on shelves by the end of December 2022, we may say, Athena, how realistic is that, right? So it gives you the opportunity to say, what are my long-term goals? And someone else had mentioned those milestones along the way as you achieve those goals. And I'm a big fan of celebrating those small wins. So, like Randy said, Covey says, begin with the end in mind, right? Your end is to get that product on the shelf. But what are those small goals that you're achieving along the way while you're getting those products into the shelves, and celebrating and acknowledging them? Don't overlook them, don't bypass them. Those are still huge monumental goals that you accomplish. It's not the main goal, but those are still goals along the way.
And I feel that sometimes goal setting helps us see how far we've come. Sometimes at the end of the year, when I look back to the goals that I made earlier in the year, I really understand how much I achieved, because sometimes we keep going and going and we don't realize that we have, accomplished a lot. And just looking at it, especially on paper, helps me see how far I've come, and then serves as motivation to keep going.
And so I think all of that is great, and all of it is correct. And the only thing is, in the space that I operate in as a consultant, one of my selling points about what I think makes me valuable is my ability to think strategically. And so I always saw goals as a way of operating strategically, right? So I'm always trying to maximize my input. And so in order for me to truly understand that, I really have to set clear goals, think about it ahead of time, and stop just thinking from a day-to-day basis. Also, you want to, again, make adjustments along the way for things you want to adjust for your growth, because sometimes growth can come to you unexpectedly, right? And you also want to make adjustments if you're not growing as quickly as you would like to be growing. So in addition to short-term goals, you could also have long-term goals, much like Athena has, to be in a brick and mortar store, right? And so, and someone else on the call who's looking to establish a tea shop, right? That could be a long-term goal, or it could be a short-term goal that she's already taken some steps towards. Either way, those are those larger goals, right? Which help kind of anchor your business or stabilize your business or support the sustainability of your business, right? So in these examples, the long-term goal to double the number of brick and mortar locations in 5 years helps increase viability, because with more brick and mortar locations, you're obviously going to generate more revenue, right? You're going to add 25 sales reps over the next 2 years, reach 100,000 customers in 10 years. So these are all examples of long-term goals because they seem a little bit more advantageous, right? And the other thing is there's a lot more input required to reach these goals. So if you notice the shorter term goals, those seem like more of an easier lift, right? Those were things you could achieve in the next 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months, or 12 months. These are goals that would take a longer time to achieve, because a lot more input and infrastructure is required to achieve those goals. So it's really important to really think about these things strategically, because the second part of establishing goals is really outlining each of the activities or the inputs you're going to put into the goals. So when Athena says, I want to have my stuff in stores, there might be incremental goals she'll have to set for herself to get to that longer goal, right? And so she might say, well, this year I'm going to work on this towards this larger goal. Next year it's going to be this towards this larger goal. And that's a way for her to measure and track how far along she is to getting to that longer term, more lofty goal. She might be setting micro goals in between, just to know that she's on track. So it's not enough every day to just get up and say, yeah, one day I'm going to be in stores. What Athena's going to do is, like, each year she's going to set very strategic goals for herself to make sure that eventually she's in brick and mortar stores. The one thing I will say about all of this is that none of this happens without intentionality. So in order to really do any of these things, you have to be very intentional about it, and you have to be very strategic. And so it's really saying, if I want to have a brick and mortar location, what's one thing I'm going to do today that's going to be leading to that goal? And what's the benchmarks and milestones along the way I'll expect to see and be able to evaluate and document that lets me know that I'm getting there. So it's one thing to think about it abstractly, conceptually. It's another thing to actually document it and write it down, which we had this call manifestation. We had this conversation on Manifestation Mondays. Like, are we writing these things down? So yeah, it's one thing to come in this collective space to talk about, here's my goal, and this is one thing I'm thinking about. And as solopreneurs, we often think of that way because we're the only ones doing it. So we think it's all in our head and we got this. But it's really important to actually write it down, document it, and track it so that you can be sure that you're staying on track for the growth that you want to see. In companies where people have employees, goals are shared, right, broadly across the organization. And then usually if you have departments, if you've ever worked in corporate or any type of large organization, you know that the company will have these large goals and then specific departments will have smaller goals, and the individuals who work for a department will have other goals. So then they have this thing that's escalating all the way up to the larger company goals. And so what the company is going to look at the end of the year is how far we've come towards these larger goals based on all the work of people who contribute to that with their individual or departmental goals. So I think one of the mistakes we make sometimes as individual business owners or small business owners is that we don't think corporate minded enough. And I think even though you're a small business, there are a lot of strategies that you can take from the corporate space that'll help you organize and structure your business so that you can be more strategic and more effective. So I like to borrow from those frameworks frequently because they were very helpful for me when I did work in the corporate space. And it's kind of become a part of my I don't want to say my DNA, but it literally influences the way that I work and I operate at every level. Because goals are not specific to just your business. You should be, I would encourage you to set personal goals as well, wellness goals, financial goals. When I used to be, when I worked in financial literacy programs, I would have a team of people who would go through a financial literacy program, but they had to create goals for themselves, financial goals, and they had savings goals. And we would meet frequently to review those goals to see if they were on track, because some of them wanted to start a business, some of them wanted to buy a home. We try to get people to think more strategically about larger purchases. You should be being strategic and set credit goals. So I actually have a notebook where I have personal financial goals around my credit, right? I looked at things I want to pay off. I have a time frame. So this is a framework that you can use in your personal life, your professional life. You can think about your health goals, right? You can think about your financial profile. We have a great resource here that knows a lot about stock investments, if that's something you want to utilize as a tool to set financial goals for yourself. But really, goal setting is something that you can actually integrate in all aspects of your life, even with your children, right? So that they begin to think very strategically about everything they're doing and for what that purpose is that they're doing it. So doing this and getting this from that corporate experience has helped me in all areas of my life. And I bring that everywhere that I go. And it's one of the things that I offer through my consulting engagement with my clients, whether we're doing it on diversity, equity, inclusion, or whether we're doing it on nonprofit organizations, the same framework applies. So I'm going to pause briefly just to take some questions before I go on to the next section. You can be reactions or questions.
I just wanted to say that I actually have those exact same buckets when I do my personal yearly goals. I have each of those: health and wellness, financial, family related goals, health and fitness related goals. So I have like 5 buckets. And then within each of the buckets, I'll have, just a handful of goals in each bucket. And that's what I use to track my personal development over the year.
Mm-hmm. Samantha, you had unmuted yourself, I saw.
Oh, no, I was going to talk to the ladies, tell them to put their comments also in the chat. Any questions you may have. Don't hold on to it. This is a safe space. We are all here. This is your cohort over the next year. So let's get to know each other. Put your comments in the chat. Also put your information in the chat so that we can reach out to you. We need to know who's in the cohort. So put that in the chat also.
I'll
Ladies?
just share that. I'll share that what's helpful for me is to do my visioning. So what I see for my business in the future, where I see it, and then back into that vision. And so I have that vision. I set a goal around that particular, or number of goals around that vision, and then back into it by setting multiple short-term goals to get to that long-term goal. And that's been really helpful for me.
So those of you that, because there's a few of you on a call that are already kind of embodying this practice, so this may not be new information for you, but one of the things that we were thinking about when we created this space is that the next step, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're a sole proprietor, you don't have a whole bunch of, you don't have a team yet, right? Like some of us have a team, some of us don't have a team. These types of spaces and in group coaching settings allow us to come and share those goals. And if we're experiencing any roadblocks or challenges, we can lean on this community, right, to kind of help us work through those things. So it's great to hear that people are using a lot of these techniques. And I want to say that it's also great that you're here because you may be able to share with others who are just getting started, getting into this habit, I like to call it. And there might be roadblocks that you're facing that others may have faced in the past, in which we can lean on each other in this community to support each other. So it's great that some people are using it. And we also want to make sure that you stay connected with us, because as we grow as a community, we can definitely leverage that support and offer that support. Does anybody else have a comment or a question?
Yes. Hello. First of all, Randy, you're doing an excellent job. Very informative. We really do appreciate you taking time to empower us as women. And another thing that I do know is accountability partners, in addition, inside the cohort, sort of pushes you even further as we continue to do this, because there's someone that you have to be accountable to, because they're going to check in with you, not just quarterly, but, daily, weekly, or whatever time that you all set allow, but it helps you to continue to push. And it's somebody you can bounce things off of. That's what's inside the cohort. I know that within one of the other groups I have, in order for us to continue to stay going level by level, we're able to do that with our team player, because it's a lot of information you need help with. And I land my plane.
So I'm just going to read a couple of notes in the chat that are coming in, unless people want to unmute themselves. But there is one from Takesha, and she stated that I'm looking at my vision board that has a lot of short-term and long-term goals. Now I can get more organized and stay focused on strategy. And Naomi agreed with the accountability partners being a plus. And then others are dropping their contact information in the chat. So feel free to make sure you look at that if there's folks that you want to connect with in between. The participant list will be shared. So if you want to reach out in between our quarterly sessions, you'll be able to do so. One other question before we continue? And Maxine, accountability partner is always a good thing to have. So how do we actually set business goals? We set business goals to get a better understanding, to get a better understanding of setting business goals. I'm just going to walk you through a quick example, because most people that I meet with, they'll tell me like the thing that they want, like the wish, the hope, the dream. And then when you say what my goal is, they'll actually repeat the wish, the hope, the dream, right? So people will want to own a food truck, will say, I want to have a food truck, turn it into a successful business to support my family, right? And so in this type of space, or if you're working with a coach, they're going to actually help you organize all the things that you need to do into specific goals so that you can actually get to that final end state. So the final end state is the food truck that's successful and you can support your family. So one of the things we know, right, like there's assumptions you can make in the statement as I want a new food truck and I want it to be successful. In order for a food truck to be successful, it has to make money. People have to like your food. So that's one thing. And also, if you wanted to support your family, that means it probably is your main or primary source of income, right? So now it's not enough to just buy a truck, put some food on it for it to be successful. You have to really make sure that it's a business that will actually generate a profit. So generating revenue and income is not the same thing as a profit. So I'm sure that you all know that, right? So you can have a lot of sales But if all your expenses eat up your sales, you're actually not turning a profit. So in this very large, broadly stated goal, really you're trying to have a successful business that's actually has enough sales to turn a profit so that you can support your family. And so many of us transitioned into entrepreneurship from jobs, right? And so one of the primary concerns, I can't speak for everyone on this call, but primary concern for me when I left the kind of similar corporate space was, will I be able to earn enough, generate enough business to meet that annual salary that I had gotten to for almost 20 years, right? So I didn't just walk into that company and have that salary. Over a 20-year time period, I got to that salary. And so when I left at 20 years, I needed to make sure that I could generate enough revenue as a business that would get me that salary and more. So I had to think real strategically about how would I actually do that. So I had to roll out a very strategic plan in how would I find the people who would hire me, because I had spent 20 years in this space and I wasn't in this other space. And so there was an extensive outline of how I would do that with a clear strategy based on my specific business as a consultant. That's one pathway. It's not the same pathway as a food truck. But in a food truck scenario, right, the first thing, because you all might be familiar with New Haven or some food truck areas. You don't just park a food truck and be like, here I am. You kind of got to generate some interest in who you are. You got to get some leads, right? So if I start out fresh and say, I just want a food truck, the first thing I might do is find some reoccurring events or find 2 weekly reoccurring events or 4 monthly reoccurring events to attend within 3 months. So in that specific goal, it's not enough to say reoccurring events. We were going to be very explicit about how many reoccurring events, because that's going to determine how much money I'm going to make. But if I'm also building an audience for my food or building a following for my food, there's a different amount of input that I need to put in for a food truck versus someone a restaurant who already has a solid customer base, and they're going to introduce a food truck as addition to their business. So if I'm new, that looks like one thing for me. And if I'm an established business, that looks like another thing for me. So when we're setting business goals, we're really looking at the specific nuances of our own business. We can't adopt somebody else's goal set or adopt somebody else's plan and make that our plan. So we have to be these goals have to really align with where we are as a business. If we're a startup and we're new versus if we're an established business and we're introducing an additional or new service. We might set a goal to say we want 500 in sales per hour of operations by the end of year 1, which is not crazy, right? Like if you think about, I don't know if you've all been by Yale Hospital, those food trucks, I'm sure they're doing $500 an hour at many of those food trucks, right? And so they're probably able to support their families and turn a profit. And that would be an actual realistic goal to have by the end of year 1. You need a website and forms for online catering requests within a certain number of days. If that's something you're going to offer, we have some caterers and the food folks on the call, so they know what I'm talking about. You might need 2 part-time employees, right? Or 4 part-time employees. So these are all things in which you would take that very larger goal or wish and really distill it down to strategic things that you want to achieve, so you can look back to say I'm on track. If I'm not hitting my average sales, how will I adjust? Right? If I buy my truck and I'm about to be at these events, but I don't even have a website and I don't have Facebook, how will people even know I'm there? Do they have to just show up? Right? Like, so there are things that you have to think through very strategically when you're launching your business, specifically to where you are. So anybody have any questions or thoughts or reactions to that, especially some folks on the call that have done the whole food thing?
I have not done the food thing besides eating because I am a foodie, but I will say that oftentimes as entrepreneurs, we get excited about that end that we're, so excited to accomplish, and we lose track of these little things that happen that we need. We need a business card. We need a professional business email address, right? As entrepreneurs, as professionals, our email address should not end in gmail.com, right? So thinking about all these little things, a website that we need, a functional social media that we're actually paying attention to, a business address that people can reach us. Have we set up a fax number? Because depending on which space you're doing business in, they may require you to have a fax number. So we sometimes skip over all of that and try to get to the fun part. But we have to remember, if we're not building our core foundation, we're never going to be strong enough to get to that end that we have in mind.
Absolutely. And so the second part of the how, right, is really the framework. So there are many different ways to actually establish goals, but this is probably the one you will hear about most often and most frequently, and it's most well known to many businesses, corporations, small businesses, larger businesses, is this ideal of SMART, which, you know, the acronym has specific meaning, but they're also, like, when you put the word together, it's SMART, right? So SMART goals. And SMART just means that they're specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're realistic, and they're timely. And so the goal examples we've been sharing this whole time have really met this criteria. So the reason I told Athena and Janine to hold on to their examples, because I wanted them to look at this framework and then reshape those goals into this framework, right? So it's specific. So Athena said, I want to be in stores, right? Well, do you want to be in all the stores? Do you want to be every store? Do you want to be in a specific store? So what store do you want to be in? So when we say specific, we want the goal to have a clear finish line that's easy to measure. So something such as increased profits is not specific, whereas increased profits by 20% or increased revenue by 10,000 per month is specific. So for Athena's goal, as an example, maybe she wants to say, well, you know what? I want to be in at least this number of stores with this vendor by this date. So let's just say she wants to go into Walmart. So I want to be in X amount of Walmart stores by 2023, by the end of 2023. So then Athena, starting today, can start doing her research on what does it mean to become on the shelves of Walmart? What do I need to do? What actions do I need to take? And then she can outline a strategy, right? So just saying I want to be in stores, that's great. When we narrow it down, we can now develop a smaller, more intentional, incremental goals to actually get to where we want to get to. So the first step Athena could do is say which store she wants to go in first. Well, what store you want to go in first? Choose one, right? She has a vegan lip line, maybe it's Whole Foods, right? So what does it mean to get in Whole Foods? How do I get in Whole Foods? All right, I'm going to call Whole Foods. I'm going to go on Whole Foods website. I'm going to look at manufacturing. I'm going to look at all these different things over this period of time so that by next year, I am on the shelves of at least 3 or 4 Whole Foods in the state of Connecticut. After that, I'm going to try to get into the tri-state area. After that, I might explore Target and Walmart, right? So want to be in stores is great, but once we narrow it down and put a timeline on it, we can actually organize a bunch of micro goals to get there. Measurable. So this helps you know when you cross the finish line and keeps you pointing in the right direction. So let's say Athena's lip lock is in Whole Foods next year, right? She can actually go back and say, I set a goal last year to be in a store. I chose Whole Foods, right? And now I am in 1 or 2 Whole Foods by the end of 2023. Achievable. Is it achievable? So Athena's goal can be, I want to be in stores, right? But what does that mean? Could you be in all the stores? I don't know, right? So what we want to do is make sure we set the goal in terms of what's achievable. It's actually achievable to be, I know this for a fact, to be in 2 Whole Food stores by next year. That's actually achievable. I know people have done it. So now we know by being more specific, that's actually achievable, right? So you may dream of earning $1 billion in a year from your business, but is that actually possible at some point in the future? However, is it achievable in the next 12 to 4 months? So when setting those goals, you want to make sure that they're realistic and reasonable, but not too easy, right? Push yourself, dream big, dream big. You might get very close along the way. So I don't think people should dumb down their goals thinking that they can't do something, that they're too big, but dream big, right? And don't make them too easy so that you can really see the effort and the willingness and the girth that you're willing to put into that. Samantha has her hand raised.
Of course, because you reminded me, some of you ladies, especially from Manifestation Monday, you've heard me say this before. You want to be realistic about your goals, but you also want to set goals that scare you a little bit. That we talk about the big, hairy, audacious goals, right? Some goals that make you a little bit uncomfortable. Because I think Letitia said it last week in the call we were on, or maybe text message, I don't remember. The higher you set your goal, gives you the probability of achieving even more. Because if you set a lower bar, then that's what you're going to be working towards. So if you set this outlandish goal that just seems unrealistic, you're going to be so much further than if you set this small, comfortable goal that didn't scare you at all. So you want realistic goals, but you also want goals that push you.
Melanie, you unmuted yourself?
I did. Please excuse, I've been wanting to interject and share something, but my baby is trying to also be a part of this meeting.
That's all right. All babies are welcome.
Right. I'm trying. I'm like, okay, give me a minute.
That baby's a boss.
I know. He's trying to be a part of this. I said, give me a minute. But I did want to add this. I wanted to add, because you mentioned Whole Foods. It's funny, as you mentioned it, I actually went through that process. So I wanted to just share really quick, a quick little note, which is as you build, protect. Because even as we are sharing, even as we are setting our goals, right? Along the way, one of the biggest things I learned was the goal that I want to reach, I also want to protect. I also want to cover, because as you move further, especially as you get others involved, you learn very quickly, at least these are the lessons I learned. You learn very quickly that people can also come in and try to, they'll try to interfere with what you're trying to achieve. Mm-hmm. And so you have to do your best at not only, right, setting the goal, keeping it something you focus on, but also protect. And I learned that by going through the experience of reaching out to Whole Foods. So, okay, Elijah.
So I think Melanie will be a part of this community in the future. So those of you who are looking to go through that process, I think she would be a good resource to share what her were. I know one or two folks that have done it successfully in the past. So it is, for those of you on the call with an actual product that you want to get on shelves in the store, I think we can definitely have that as part of one of our hot topics along the way. I also want to just note that if you look in the chat, there are people who are on this call who actually provide official business coaching services. Samantha being one of them through Melanated Business Coaching, and Melanie as well. And so if you find that you need a deeper engagement than this quarterly space, we have people in this network who are very knowledgeable and resourceful and can work with you on a one-on-one basis. So feel free to make sure you follow them on the socials, connect with them outside of here. Their links are in the chat. So especially for those of you who are starting out and really want to have more than this group space to really launch and grow your business. So I just want to make sure I restate that. And we're not going anywhere, so you can still find us. So the second part of SMART goals, because they're specific, measurable, achievable, they're also relevant. So they should be focused on the business results and be relevant to what you're trying to achieve. So it might be good to grow your social media following, but your Instagram and Twitter accounts might be irrelevant if you don't turn followers into customers. So what's relevant depends on the business and your goals. Ultimately, every goal should lead to improving long-term profits. So when I say relevant, I can't stress enough that a lot of times we see people's success and we think we can duplicate what they're doing. We really have to look at our business specifically, especially when we're in differing industries, to really make sure that our goals are very relevant to what we do. For example, as a consultant, the power of our brand is not necessarily our Facebook following. Really, it would be our LinkedIn following, and those who endorse us on LinkedIn. They're not necessarily going to Facebook to really think about how they're going to hire us to be a quality trainer. Also, if we have a YouTube channel with any examples of work that we've done, as a facilitator, I try to protect my particular model. So I have clips that I can send to folks, but I don't necessarily just put them all out there. My training materials are all customized, and I would hate for someone to take my stuff and just replicate it. So I'm very protective of the way that I deliver my content and my brand. But in terms of how I would grow my following, it really wouldn't come via, your traditional social media through Instagram or Twitter. We would have a different place we would grow our following. But that might not be true for lip lock or a tea or a food truck, right? Or a cake spell. So you really have to think about your specific industry, your specific service you offer, your specific brand, and what does it mean to set those goals around that, right? So you couldn't do the same thing I did because I'm just a consultant. I don't offer an actual product to go on a shelf. I wouldn't take the same journey as you. So your goals need to be very relevant to your journey as in your particular industry with your particular brand and your particular service or product you offer. Time bound. Can't stress that enough. They should have a deadline, right? They should have a deadline. And even if you don't meet that deadline, which we find out frequently on our calls, especially with me, that I'll set a goal, like I want this many people, that because I have a longer term goal to transition from less in-person training to just more consulting. I do a lot of training right now and I want to do less. So that's my overall goal. But I knew, first of all, I had to train and onboard new people. I had to standardize my curriculum. So I've been making incremental steps, right? And I have not yet got my 2 people, but I'm working on it. So they do have to be time bound so that you know if you need to go back and actually adjust your strategy. So I know for me, I haven't dedicated the amount of time that's necessary for me to really pound the pavement to find my people. I've been too busy working, right? So now I know currently the build it and they will come model does not work for what I need. So because I didn't get my people yet, right? I set a goal by the end of September, I don't have my people. So when I go back and say, what have I done over the last couple of months to actually get these people? Well, I've talked to a few people, I've interviewed a few people, I put some things on Indeed, but I haven't really dedicated the time necessary to really recruit those 2 people. So now I know I have to adjust what I'm doing so that I can get to my goal. So setting it as a time-bound goal lets me go back and say, well, you didn't meet this goal by the end of September, like you indicated. What did you do and what didn't you do and what can you do differently? Samantha?
Yes, I was going to say the time bound is important. The ladies who attend Manifestation Monday, they know I am always asking this question. They'll say, I need to reorganize my storage unit by April. And I say April 1st, April 15th, April 30th. Like you have to be so specific with it and honest with yourself if you don't meet that time bound goal that you set. And it's okay. Like Randy said, sometimes we have a lot of goals and we can't reach them all. But being realistic, and I have a whole, Randy said, how many have goals? I have a whole Word document with goals for the year. It's like 3 pages long, right? So there's some of those goals where I say I want to do, I don't know, well, I can't do that one. My 8A application, right? I want to submit my 8A application by November 15th. Honestly, I'm about to go in there and cross out the November 15th and then put like January 3rd or something. And it's okay to, but what I do is keep track. So I am, I'm holding myself accountable and looking at those dates. I'm not just crossing out the date and writing a new date. I'm seeing every single time I cross it off and add a new date. Because at some point I'm going to say, Sammy, can you get it together and actually do this? Because how many times are you going to cross off a date and put a new date? Or is it we need to be more realistic about how long it's going to take you to accomplish that goal? And your end date should be a little further out to give you time. So you're not just keep crossing it out. So being very particular about your dates, making sure that, like Randy is saying, it's realistic and it's relevant to the work that you're doing and your end goal.
Any other questions or comments or feedback? I just want to do some final summations and then hear from the folks that joined us after we got started, as well as talk about one specific thing we can do before we get off this webinar or call or training, whatever you want to call it. Anyone else? All right, so just to quickly summarize what we talked about today, it's just that, what our key takeaways are in terms of business goals. They help us work towards important objectives. They can be long-term or short-term. They can range from specific financial results to operational metrics. Each business is unique, and so there's no right or wrong way to set those goals. Additionally, we've talked about, just in terms of sharing in this space, leveraging the expertise of folks already here, the importance of protecting our brand and protecting what we're putting out if we're putting things out into the ecosystem that are going to be on product shelf, right? Also thinking about evaluating whether we're achieving our goals or not. If we want to extend the time out, making sure that we're not just procrastinating, that we're being very thoughtful about why we're stretching it out, making sure that they're actually realistic, making sure that they have a timeliness around them so that you can go back and actually see if you need to do things differently. So there's a lot of what we cover today that's going to be just laying the foundation for our next set of engagements. And I'm going to pause in a minute to ask people to do a specific activity, and then we're going to round out all of this with any questions people may have, as well as the folks who came on later. I think there's at least 3 or 4 folks that came on later, be able to introduce themselves to this community and talk about the industry that they're in. So does anybody have any questions, any specific questions before we move forward? All right, so I just want to briefly stop sharing my screen and have all of us thinking about the framework that we just looked at, is really think to ourselves for a moment, a particular goal that we want to establish right now, or a particular goal that we want to have, and really try to fit it into the framework we talked about, the SMART goal framework. It's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's results-based, and it's time-specific. So thinking about something that you want for your business right now, I want you to think about a goal, then we're going to share it, but we're also going to have you document that. That's the goal that we're going to check in with you on when we come to this quarterly space. And so rather than have you say it and someone try to actually record all that and write it down and ask you what you say, I'm going to ask you when you have it to actually put it in the chat so that Samantha, Letitia, and myself have it. We'll be able to remind you of that when we get back together again. So I know Samantha's about to unmute herself, but I will kick us off in terms of our thinking about an example. So I have dozens of goals that I have in my head, but one of the goals that a community of us who do this work have been thinking about is, how do we create, right now our business model, individuals as us individual consultants and trainers, is we wait for businesses to reach out to us, and businesses reach out to us and we do trainings for them. That takes up a lot of our time. It takes a lot of time. And we're often actually replicating a lot of the same training. So we thought, what if we got together as a collective and actually just offered quarterly offerings, right, to larger groups of people? It reduces the amount of work we have to do, right? And we can actually rotate those, but we would bring all our clients to one central place, use bigger venues for in-person, leverage the power of Zoom to have more people on at once, and create breakout groups. And so this is something that we established as a goal of last year. So as a larger goal to bring this effort together. And so we have decided by the spring of 2023, it's going to be our first collective offering. And so within the next 3 months, we're going to identify a topic, develop the curriculum, and then in January, begin to actually market that. So that's one large goal that we've set these smaller goals in between, but the overarching goal for all of that is for us to not work as hard as we're working individually, doing the same thing in the same space. So that's an example of a big business aspiration that I'm distilling down into much smaller goals, with the end date of the first offering to be in the spring of 2023. Samantha, I think you had an example too, because you had unmuted yourself.
I have plenty of examples, but what I was going to say was we were doing 3 SMART goals for 2023, and 3 SMART goals may be a lot for you to really develop and work towards. So I'd say, like Randy was saying, what is your main goal? Like, let's think of one strong goal that's really going to push you in your business. And then if you have 2 other goals or 1 or 2 other goals, then let's think about those also. But no complacency here, ladies. We're here to work. I'll pull up my goals so I can give an example. So let's see. Okay, one of my goals was to hire 2 employees by November 15th, 2022. And some of you know, I actually just did half of that. I hired 1 employee by November 15th, 2022. And I already have on my list who I wanted to hire. My first hire is my 9-year-old son. I officially made him an employee, which is a tax write-off for the business. So they can strategically about the finances, the money, and also setting him up for future success. So that's an example of a SMART goal that I had set.
So I typed my goal and Samantha's goal in the chat. I just want others to think about one goal that you will set, a big business goal that you will set to check in over a quarterly basis with this community. So thinking about us starting today, we're going to have 3 other engagements. And this would be a goal that you would check in on your progress on, any roadblocks that you're facing along the way, and leverage this community to brainstorm collectively to work through those roadblocks. So if you have one, put it in the chat. I'd love to have a few folks unmute themselves to actually state theirs out loud, but just think of one goal that you can establish that you can check in with this community and get support from this community on during the next couple of sessions.
Okay, I'll state my goal. My goal, I pushed it back a couple times, but I'm gonna firm it now. By the end of the year, I'm gonna try to have my inventory up and good for, I can be ready for anything I need to do as far as marketing and anything I want to do to gain more volume and traffic to my website. So I just want to make sure that I have enough inventory for all the holidays coming up and Valentine's Day and Mother's Day going next year. So my goal right now is, before the year is out, is to have a good supply of my inventory.
So Athena, what I would love for you to do for next time is tell us what those numbers are.
Okay, so I would like a quantity of, I'll say maybe 300 to 500 of each color.
Okay.
I'm not sure if my goal hits all the requirements. So it was to increase my annual profit by 100% by the end of 2023. Is that a good SMART goal? I'm trying to think. It's measurable, specific.
Well, you just put increase in firm annual profit by 100%. So we're already in October, right? So you would put, yeah, because 2023 would be a year.
Oh, I had to put the year. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so if you just say increase it, it's like by when, right?
Okay.
And then, yeah,
That's
you
what I missed.
100% means because you know where you're.
Randy, your audio went out.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, so you don't have
Yeah.
to tell us the number, but you said by 100% because you know what your current profit is.
Yeah.
And so that was one comment I was going to make, is that, Simone, only you know if increasing it by 100% is realistic.
Mhm.
So you have to realistically look at that number, or if you're working with somebody else who knows what that number is. So you have to look at that number and see, can I realistically increase this by 100% in a year?
And
Yes, I can.
Okay,
so
then do it. Simone gonna start sending invoices now.
Takesha put that she wants to be a published author in the fall of 2023. So that definitely has a time. Is there anything specific you want to publish? Do you want to have it published on a specific platform? Would it be digital? Would it be print? So Is it a book, a novel? Is it a workbook? So put down the specific thing that you want to actually publish, because there's many different ways to become a published author. And Bab said she wants to have 1 speaking engagement, 5 new customers in my signature program by the end of the year. Is that the end of this year, Babs?
Yes, it is.
And increase your marketing by 50%. So when looking at these specific goals, do you think this is something you can reach within the next 1.5 months, really? It's really 1.5 months.
Yeah, because I got an engagement tonight.
Okay. So you got 1 checked off, and then you said get my book out on all platforms. So I'm assuming that the book already exists. And when you say all
Yes,
platforms,
it is.
are you talking about Audible, Amazon? What do you mean by all platforms?
Yes, I mean Audible, print, and on the shelves.
And it's currently available as what?
Right now, it's going in for on Amazon right now. This is, yeah, I finished it, finally got the cover. So now it's like we're going to the next phase.
Got it. So when we check in again, so one of all of these goals, it's really good to start jotting down actual actions you will take towards these specific goals, like writing them down. Because you can set smaller incremental goals, right? So if I say, we've indicated that we want to have this offering by the spring of 2023, there's all these little micro goals in between, right? So I'm then going to set like, okay, if I need to have this number, and I put the number of organizations in there, this number of organizations attending this event in the spring of 2023, I have to make a list of organizations by then. I have to find the contacts of those organizations. So I start setting smaller goals in between. And then we come together in this space, we can share what have we done towards those goals, right? So sometimes we set a goal and we're like, oh, we periodically think about them. If we actually set smaller micro goals along the way, we can actually come back to this group and talk about what we've done so far, so we can be accountable to this group and accountable to ourselves to recognize, okay, well, I've done this many things, or I haven't done many things towards that goal. Like I said, I couldn't onboard 2 people by September because I hadn't really invested the energy necessary that requires that, right? There's a lot of work that goes into onboarding a trainer who can operate without you. Because they have to get used to your curriculum and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of work that goes into that. And I had not done that level of work. So I couldn't have those 2 people by the end of September. I have people waiting, but I couldn't invest the time. So now I know a goal for me is to really schedule time out so that I can really work towards that intention. Maxine has a goal to increase her private tea party club by 50% by April 2023. You know what number you have now, so you know if you're going to get there by April 2023. As we check in this community, you can tell us, like, what have I been doing to increase that? Have I seen some growth? Have I seen small amount of growth? What else do I need to do? Naomi wants to get at least 2 contracts from doctors' offices. So Naomi, we would just say put like a date around that, right? Put an actual date around when you want to get those 2 contracts by.
She later wrote by December.
By December, and if they're in a specific period.
Is that yeah? You got muffled again with your sound, Randy. Is that 2022 or December 2023?
22.
Okay. So that's a strong year-end goal.
So we have someone here, Gina Tay, said she will have her business set up, have an NPI, EIN, a business plan, website, marketing platforms, and functional with 5 clients by January 31st, 2023. And Samantha offered consider adding a capability. For Room to Breathe to have 2 to 4 consistent clients a month in 2023. That's good. So we have like numbers, we have time, we have dates. So these are all things we're going to use to actually check in with each other. And if you're having challenges, you'll actually be able to leverage this group experience to discuss some of those challenges through a series of activities. But don't forget, we have people who actually have coaching businesses in this community that you can reach out in between to connect with, to see if their services might help you be more strategic and get to those goals by those dates that you have them. Tracy of Cakesville has her hand raised. Tracy, you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, so my goal is to increase my wholesale clients by 5 by June of 2023 and create a streamlining platform for them to order via my website.
Awesome. And when you say create a streamlined ordering system for your website, do you have a date that you want to have that done by?
By June of 2023.
So especially for Tracy's example of having this streamlined ordering platform for her website, there might be some smaller goals in between that, right? She might have to look for vendors who can provide her that service, or see if there's a platform. Does she need to hire a programmer to do something that needs to be custom designed? So along the way, she might identify one goal each month to get her to that other goal by June 2023, right? So it's really important to set those smaller incremental goals along the way so that you're not tackling all that stuff at one time, that you're really doing smaller pieces to get you to the final end state.
Absolutely. And currently, I have an appointment with my current wholesale client to speak with them on things that I can improve and things that they love and what they would like to see going forward. Because, you know, feedback is very important to propelling our business forward. So I want to hear that from my client and hear that criticism so I can know what areas I need to identify to work on.
Yeah, and feedback is very important. How your clients experience you might be different than what you think. So hearing from them is very important. So as a facilitator, I always get that feedback in the moment. But every now and again, people will shoot me LinkedIn text messages or send me an email. But find ways to actually incorporate feedback into your processes, because in the product-based world, and often sometimes in the service-based world, you don't really hear from people until they're not pleased. So I always try to get feedback from all of my workshops in the moment, whether it's through a survey or, you know, I usually have people go by and share one thing, or when we're doing it virtually, I'll tell them put something in the chat, just because that feedback lets me know how I can grow. And I don't usually use criticism as a term, but it's critique, right? And so, and feedback is information, right? So feedback is information. You can choose what you would like to do with it. So sometimes people say that they didn't, you know, I remember having a training once and it was like, well, I didn't like that trainer because I preferred you. Well, I know that trainer and I know that trainer did really, really well. So what I learned from that is, okay, but she wasn't for this audience. It doesn't mean that we did anything wrong. It doesn't mean that anything was bad. It's just that that particular group preferred a different person because they had worked with the other person before, and that this person never had that experience with other groups, right? So feedback is always information for how you want to evaluate what you want to do with that information. Samantha, you had your hand raised and then it went away.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I felt it was up there too long. I want to say, yes, Tracy, that is amazing that you are proactively seeking that feedback. I actually just sent a 360-degree leadership survey out to my team, people I've partnered with, my contractors, just to get on a leadership perspective, because we do send the client surveys at the end of projects. So being sure to do a self-analyzation of what it is you're doing, how you're being perceived. Like Randy was saying, you may think you're showing up in a certain way and you're not. But you need that information, but also it's the willingness to being open to that feedback, because sometimes we are not receptive. So making sure that you stay in this constant stage of growing and learning and seeking to improve and be better. I tell my 9-year-old all the time, we can always be better. So always seeking to improve.
We just have about 6 minutes left to our time today, and I always try to honor folks' time. Does anybody else have a comment, a question, or a thought they'd like to share before we close out today's session? Thank you, Melanie. We'll see you next time. Any
So,
other? Mhm. Go ahead,
Randy,
Sarah.
I know a few ladies joined late. Can we go around and do a quick 30 seconds? So who we are again, that way we can get an intro to the cohort, get to know each other a little better.
Yeah. So do you want to start and then we'll move forward from there?
Sure. So hi, everyone. I am Samantha Williams, president, founder of the Collaboration of Minority Women Professionals. So I am glad to have you here today. Also the founder of 628 Digital Design. We are a full service digital content design and marketing agency and the owner of Melanated Business Coaching, where we provide business coaching to Black women in business. And I'm gonna just go around the Zoom room. Randy.
Oh, Randy McKay, owner of RM Consulting.
Your sound is muffled, Randy.
I don't know why it's doing that. So Randy McCray, owner of RM Consulting Services. I do exactly what I'm doing right now, training and consultation for businesses of any sector with a specialization in operations and diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Letitia.
Hi. Hi, Letitia Douglas. I am the vice president and co-founder of the Collaboration. I am also a data scientist, real estate investor, and stock market investor.
Awesome. Athena.
Hi, I'm Athena Murphy. I'm the owner of Lip Block LLC, a cosmetic vegan brand of lipstick and lip gloss. We also have soy candles as well.
Thank you. Takesha on her throne.
Hi, everyone. I'm Takesha Carter. I'm the founder of Afro-Can Holistic and the creative Black Women Who Blaze.
Awesome. Simone. You're on mute.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Simone Timwazy. I am the owner of Infirm Concierge Services, and we assist people with stressful daily tasks, and that's it.
Okay. You did good, Simone. Janine. Janine may be trying to unmute. I'm going to mess up your name. Jay. Janate. I'm gonna get it by next session. Okay.
No problem. So I'm Jenna Tay. I'm in the process of starting up a therapy, occupational therapy services.
Okay. Awesome. Well, welcome. We're here to support you along the way. Melissa.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Melissa Singleton. I'm a notary public, a mobile notary public service, and I'm looking to grow my business as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Tracy.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tracy Joseph. I am the owner of Cakes for Delightful Baking, a concierge bakery within this region, and I am the owner of Executive HR Consulting Service, where we focus on your HR level consulting, and a proud member of CMWP.
Hey, Naomi.
Hello, hi. I am the owner of Home Occasions, which is an event design company, as well as Easy Pricks, which is a mobile phlebotomy company. We go from people's houses, homes, doctors, your workplace, and we draw your blood and we send it out for testing. Also a member of CMWP.
Shout out to our members. I did put the link in the chat. Welcome. Come on in here, ladies. And Naomi is one of our newest members. So we look forward to having you at golf next year. We'll talk about golf another time because we're running short on time. Shatoya. Yeah. All right, we'll go to Maxine.
Hello, everyone. I'm Maxine. I am the owner of Comfort Cozy Teas and also Room to Breathe CT, which is a decluttering business.
Awesome. Let's circle back to Janine.
Hi, I'm sorry I missed my name. I'm Janine McMahon from the Hartford area. I am the owner of JDM Consulting. I do local and national initiatives around parent leadership and community engagement for system change. And I'm also the owner of Bacchanal Bounce LLC.
Awesome.
What was
Babs?
the name? Sorry,
Sorry?
what was the name of the bounce company?
Oh, it's Bacchanal Bounce LLC.
Ah, nice.
Babs?
I'm Babs Alexander, Executive Director and founder of Arts in Connecticut, the home of the Westville Performing Arts Center. And I'm the owner of Babs International Vocal Coach.
Awesome. Shatoya? All right, that's everybody. Randy, you want to close it out?
Yeah. So there is a link in the chat, which has a folder, which has a copy of today's presentation and a goal worksheet that you can use as a guide for setting your goals. It is our hope, we have collected them in the chat. If you put them in the chat, but it is our hope that you will use that worksheet to set some goals and come prepared to our next quarterly session. Prepare to discuss that goal, and then we'll get some feedback from folks and have another related topic to those specific goals that we've outlined. So it was my pleasure to facilitate with you all today. It was great seeing you. Thank you so much for your ongoing support, and please invite others who did not get to experience today's workshop to the next one. I do believe this one was recorded, so if they do sign up, we can give them the pre-recording so they're prepared for the next one. Thank you for your time, and it was definitely my pleasure.
Thank you, Randy, so much for facilitating this session for us. And ladies, we look forward to seeing you next time.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Hi, thank